This is TWiT.
Oh, goody, goody. They started right at the beginning with Macs. I love that. Wasted no time to leap into the thing I care the most about. And we had heard that they might announce a MacBook Air 15-inch. Mm-hmm. And indeed they did. And the words that warmed me to the bottom of my heart, pre-order today, shipping next week.
Yeah.
I ordered immediately. And mine comes next Tuesday.
Nice. What color?
I have, like you. In fact, this is why I didn't really need this. I have the M2 Midnight Blue. Mm-hmm. But my daughter needs a new computer. That's my excuse. So I'm going to give, because she has a really old MacBook Air. So I'm going to give her this one. Mm-hmm. And I got the 15-inch, but I couldn't bring myself to get the Midnight because of the fingerprint problem.
Fair enough.
And at least I got a MacBook Pro that was silver, like old school. Uh-huh. And I thought, wow, I remember those days. I thought for nostalgia reasons.
I wished I had the silver one when I was at the event yesterday, because right as the event started, the sun was still beating down on us and this darker color was absorbing heat. So I had this on my lap. I put my hands on it, about burned my hands. Luckily, as the event went on, the sun moved behind us, so it wasn't as much of an issue. But Dan Morin had the silver one, and I thought, oh, I wish I had that one.
I've also discovered it's very handy for blinding people with the keynote speakers with your laptop when you hold it up and show it to them. This is the Andy, you coined this, and I love this. The what is it? Feature quilt.
Feature quilt.
Yes. I love that. It's a feature quilt for the MacBook Air 15. It's MagSafe Touch ID. Really, actually, you don't even need this. It's exactly the same as the 13.3.
Yeah, it's
just a little bit bigger. And interestingly, I did some calculations. I was very pleased to see same dots per inch as the 13.6, which means
we were wondering.
I'm going to get an inch more. I'm going to get about 200 pixels more top to bottom. Mm-hmm. So that's an inch more, and I think a little more than an inch on the sides. So it will give me more real estate. I was worried that the dots per inch, pixels per inch were going to go down, and so it would just be bigger icons. But no, good news.
I think, honestly, also the best thing about this is that it resulted in the price drop on the 13.
Yeah, $100 off on the 13 and on the M1. Mm-hmm. So this is Apple's best-selling Macintosh and will continue to do so. I think the 15-inch, they're smart to do this. I think there will be a real market for it. They also are giving you a 10-core GPU, which was one of the things you had to do in an upsell, a build order for the 13.6 inch, and they're giving you the 6-speaker sound system that the MacBook Pro has. That was one thing I was unhappy with on the MacBook Air, was the sound wasn't great, and I missed, at least this MacBook Pro 14 sounds so good.
Oh wow, I never listened to audio out of this thing.
Yeah, it really sounds good. 24 gigs of memory, the max. That's a little disappointing. 2 terabytes of storage.
That's where you go to the Pro, right?
Actually, yeah, I think that they're making a pretty good separation between the Pro and the Air. The Air is great. It's got a lot of real estate. It's definitely not a Pro computer. Like it's not like, and I don't think we have any mistakes as Pro users that we should be using an Air to do what we do.
But the M2 is so good. It's so good that you really can do a lot. I mean, I'm not going to do photogrammetry, but it's great for what most people do, right?
Yeah, I think that for most people who are not doing a lot of media and so on and so forth, I think it's going to be great. I think that
creating media, not viewing media, creating
media, yes. 100%. Yeah, and so I think that the 2 extra Thunderbolt is very important. Anytime I'm on the road with a MacBook Pro, I use all of those ports.
Yeah, they're smart to limit the RAM and to limit the ports, because that's what makes it less than a Pro.
And I would love to make the Pro ones beefier. I would love to add 1/8 of an inch to it and have it last 50% longer or 100% longer. Because when you're typing in numbers, it's 18 hours or whatever. But when I'm rendering in compressor or Cinema 4D, it's like 3 hours. And so I need to we definitely need. I think the Mac Pros, I'd love to see them get beefier and thicker and more powerful and have the Airs continue to hold that space so that Apple's not trying to do the same thing with both of them.
This is the GarageBand iMovie computer. You're looking at the Final Cut Logic computer. And that's the difference.
I'll be honest. Final Cut and Logic, I'm sure, would run for many small projects, would run just fine on the Air. Yeah. Where it becomes problematic is, again, when you start to do long renders, it's going to be heat there's going to be some heat throttling there on long renders, as well as the lack of Thunderbolt ports is a big deal because one of them is power, I think.
Yeah.
Oh no, it has a
MagSafe. So it's MagSafe plus 2. Weirdly, 18 hours battery life across the line. There's no improvement, even though you have more space. I'm thinking maybe that's why they have 6
set a
speakers.
point, like make sure.
Yeah, the speakers, the 10 core base.
So do I need more battery or do I need more speaker? I want more speaker. I think that was a good. 18 hours is plenty for me, and that's they say you watching.
I think if you're using
Apple
an Air,
TV.
I think it's fine. I think if you're using a Mac again, because it's not. That's
well, good
under a certain
news.
Use case.
Guess what? They also updated the Mac Studios to massive horsepower, right?
Yeah. I mean, the
M2 Ultra
Mac Studios look great.
is the largest chip, 76 core GPU, 24 core CPU. Up to now, I have to say, for a Pro, I've been told I can't imagine this. 192 gigabytes of RAM is not enough.
It's pretty good. I mean, like, there's not that many people. I mean, well, when you get into really big renders and photogrammetry and other things like that, there's and science calculations, and so there's a bunch of things that you have to hold all in RAM at one time, and so 192 can be limited, but that market is crazy small. Like, there's one thing to be small market, and then there's to be a tiny little market that would need that much more RAM. But I do think that for the most part, 192 is it's amazing. I had to write a 3-page paper to go from 128 megabytes of RAM to 192 megabytes of RAM, for Star Wars.
Megabytes.
And that's what I was rendering chip with, and so.
No, 192 is quite a bit.
So much.
And that's an important point. Somebody saying, you mean of GPU memory? No, of unified memory. So that is a point, is that your GPU can use it.
That's stunning.
Yeah, that's a lot for a GPU.
Yeah.
They mention it on the feature quilt for the Mac Studios, but it's, I think, also true of all M2s. There's a neural engine. And the key on this is very interesting because Microsoft, which is still stuck with Qualcomm and Intel, has been hurting because of this. They've been talking about NPUs for a long time. They coined the term neural processing unit, but only the Qualcomm chips have NPUs. They're waiting for this fall when Intel will announce Meteor Lake and put out an NPU-based Intel platform. So Apple has a real advantage because all of their hardware now comes with a neural processing engine. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal, I think. Not for generating, you don't use it for generating models, but you use it for all of the kinds of things running.
Yeah, it's kind of wild how much that, even we looked at, and I can't think of his name, the law, is it Moore's Law?
Yeah, Gordon Moore.
Yeah, so Moore's Law, when sort of modern computer architecture folks have tried to look at how to sort of keep that vision alive, they have turned increasingly to these neural engines as a way to sort of figure out how to bridge the gap between how much smaller we can now make transistors versus what we would expect to see according to Moore's Law. And so, yes, it's at every aspect of your use of the machine where that neural engine is trying to do things in a way that is smarter, which then makes it work faster, makes it process better.
31.6 trillion operations per second.
I can't fathom. How much is 31.6 trillion, right?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
We're talking teraflops here. This is teraflops. This is incredible.
And by the way, the 8K playback, they talk about a lot of streams of playback. The 8K sounds esoteric until you think about the headset. The headset is an 8K.
There's two 4K screens.
8K solution.
Yep.
Yeah.
800 gigabytes per second memory bandwidth on the Mac Studio. I have to say, I have the original Mac Studio, and I have never felt in any way harmed or hampered. I even have
the one that's not Ultra, and I've never felt hampered.
I have a Pro. Lisa got the Max M1, and these are way faster than I need. So these are impressive. I didn't ask this. Did they increase the number of displays the MacBook Air could handle? No, they did not.
No, but I think it's
still one external
6K. But it's a really, really good external display, like 6K.
Yeah, really good.
And the great. I'm sorry that Apple has beaten me down to this level, but I was so excited that it still has a headphone jack. Thank you, Apple, for not removing the headphone jack from the laptop.
Isn't that sad? The Courage port is missing.
I still use one on my Studio. I definitely still use one on my studio if I really need to figure out where the.
I use it. Are you kidding?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not using it right now, but
I have an extension cable plugged into it. So if I need to, I can plug the headphones into it. The new studio will support up to 6, count them 6 Pro Display XDRs. I want 6. Now, forget VR.
I dare you.
Forget Vision Pro. I'm going to spend 10 times as much. And I'm going to have I don't have to wear a helmet. I'll just sit down. It'll be great.
Well, I have 6 right now. I know
bet
they're
you
coming
do.
out of the same
Of course
computer,
you do.
but there's a little array.
Of course you do.
Again, the NORAD set at the end of War Games. That is my ideal. Ideal work setup.
I thought that was a good start.
So this studio really, for I would say the vast majority of people, is as much as one would ever need.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the only thing that what you get with the Pro as you start to move up is the increased number of lanes of Thunderbolt and the PCIe, the slots. So being able to add 6 cards for I/O and being able to have a lot more lanes for the Thunderbolt or the big.
Well, I think this is important because yes, they finally said we have a Mac Pro. It's the same case, but it got a shrink ray a little bit. I can't tell. I couldn't tell. Did you see it?
Yeah, I actually got. There's a video of that.
Is
as well.
it cute little toaster guy?
You're supposed to wash it in cold, not warm.
It's about the size of a bread box.
Okay, bread box sized computer.
Bread box sized computer. I will say this: Apple.
See, that looks little. It's definitely smaller next to the XDR display. That looks good.
It's like the new Mac 2 Ci.
Yeah. It's really cute.
I love that computer. I got it.
If Frog Design lost the contract for industrial design, and
I've got there we go. That I think is kind of a cool look at the internal.
And you can open it up. So this is. I have to say, there isn't a lot of technical difference between the Mac Studio with the M2 Ultra and the Mac Pro with the M2 Ultra.
And that is on purpose. Apple, in talking with journalists, has positioned these two models as options. The M2 Ultra Mac Studio is meant to be the one for people, for companies or whomever who don't want to do a lot of thinking. Who just want to, I need the machine that just does what I need it to do. You get it. It's all in one package. I should say thinking and tinkering.
Wait a minute. 134 billion transistors for people who don't want to do any thinking.
This is, yes. In trying to pick what they're after. You get this machine. It does what you need it to do. Whereas if you want to tinker, if you want to play around and purpose build exactly what you want, that's where the Mac Pro comes in. Well, they're both fantastic machines. It's the choice between the two.
And I love that. I love what Apple did there, which is that we don't feel like we're getting less to buy a studio. We can break out the Mac Studio and have it be a great computer to do. If I'm doing 3D rendering, I feel like I can just go to the Mac Studio as easily as I could go to the Mac Pro. But if I need to do video I/O, then I know that I need the Mac Pro. I probably want the Mac Pro because I'm now going to want all, like when I do a video production with my studio, like if I'm using Mimo Live and I, wire all those things in, I'm using literally every port on the studio. Like it is there's a wire going into each one of those for the monitor outs, the camera ins, all the other things. I would much rather, that's the kind of thing I'd rather do on a Mac Pro. And so
you are paying for that capability. So Keith 512 in our IRC configured a Mac Studio and a Mac Pro with the same base hardware, 24 core CPU, 60 core GPU, the maxed out RAM, and that's interesting. The Pro only goes to 192 gigs as well. He put a terabyte SSD in. Now this is in the UK, so it was 5,799 pounds for the Studio, 8,799 pounds for the Mac Pro. So for those PCI 4 lanes
and way more Thunderbolt ports,
and if it's again, if you know what you need, then you need that. Like it's
a lot more, but you're gonna get.
But in comparison to the Intel Mac Pro, which was what?
Yeah. I mean,
well, and that by the way, $40,000 Apple, cheaper. You can stop comparing your Intel Macs with your Apple Silicon Macs. Nobody's buying those, guys. Those are not.
They're still. They're
still selling them.
Yeah,
I know they're selling them.
There are things that
like a discrete GPU. You want a Radeon card in there? Guess what? You ain't putting it in the new Mac Pro.
or that much RAM, or there's a couple of different things that one still does that the new one doesn't. So there's definitely reasons to have the Intel.
Yeah, no, I understand, but there's no reason to compare your performance to the Intel. That's just like hand waving.
I think they'll stop doing it now that
they can stop.
Yeah, because they've made it.
So the most expensive M2 Ultra Mac Pro is $40,000 cheaper, according to The Verge, than the maxed out Intel version. I think that's probably the RAM, because the Intel one would go to 2.5 terabytes of RAM, right? It was a lot more.
Something insane.
Yeah, something insane.
But something really high.
Yeah. So I mean, it's apples and oranges at that point. People though. So tell me about this. This is the issue, I think. The discrete GPU. Even though you have PCI bus on there, what can you put in those slots?
I mean, like video cards, for one. So video and audio I/O cards are all things that you would.
It's for I/O.
So it's really. I think that's I don't know if that's the only market, but that's the biggest market. You can also put in more hard drive. You can put in solid state hard drive
SSDs.
So you can put in these very large NVMe cards that are like 32 terabytes or whatever that you can drop into there. So there's definitely some, but I/O drive systems, network systems, but things getting in and out of the computer. It's not going to do a GPU, which is unfortunate. I mean, a lot of us wish that we could put an NVIDIA card in, because there's a bunch of like custom processes in the NVIDIA
you
card.
You got CUDA cores, and you can't.
But that's never going to happen. So keep that up. So it's not that we don't want them. We just stopped thinking about it. So it's too far away.
Yeah.
I think that it's you have an incredible workhorse of so for instance, we were talking about it this morning on office hours that Zoom, if we could get enough bandwidth, we could pull 48 individual 1080p signals out of that computer with the cards. You just drop the cards in that we buy Sonnet boxes for right now. Mm-hmm. And you'd have one box pulling 48, and which sounds crazy unless you're doing a virtual event. So if you're doing an event, you want to grab everybody and be able to jump between everybody and move around. Having all those ISOs might make sense. So those are things, but right now there's other limitations, but it's not.
It's for a very specific,
It absolutely is. Well, and it's going to be, yes, it's going to be for what it should be is for a very specific group of people. But, I live in Marin, and, there's a lot of Jeeps in Marin, and they are all super clean.
You're not going off road.
There's no dents. No one's using that Jeep for the way. I mean, they have, and we're talking about the Rubicons. There's a lot of Rubicons in Marin that are pristine, and they even have all the rigs and everything else. So there's a market there for the folks that
I would buy for that case if I had more money than sense. It's beautiful. It's that Johnny Ive cheese grater. It's gorgeous.
There's going to be like Hollywood producers that have it on their desk, and all that stuff.
Yeah. You can get the promised
one block of cheese on it.
The promised Pegasus R4i 32 terabyte RAID module for the Mac Pro.
Yeah,
plug it right in. That gives you 32 terabytes for $3,000. You know what? That's actually
that's the kind of thing.
Not bad.
It's a pretty good deal, and
less than the Vision Pro headset. Yeah.
You can put enough hard drive space into the computer that you can get yourself into an enormous amount of trouble. Like if it goes bad, it's like you can put I got 192 terabytes of drive space in there, and the whole thing goes south. So
it breaks my heart. Disney just fired the woman who saved Toy Story 2. You know this story, right? Somebody accidentally deleted the renders for Toy Story 2. The movie basically was deleted, and then they went to the backups, and the backups weren't good because they had it misconfigured.
DLT.
They thought they were going to lose the movie, right?
Right.
Then somebody says, I was bringing this at home, working at home. I think I have all the files at home. She probably had the promised 32 terabyte. I mean, how big is Toy Story 2? Anyway, they rushed over to her house, put the computer like in a egg carton, and brought it back and crossed their fingers because that's like years of work down the tubes. They saved Toy Story 2. This poor person, I think she's a woman. I'm judging from the name.
I believe so. I think she was on pregnancy leave either before or after delivering.
That's right.
But,
that's why she was working at home.
That's what I recall. And of course, you know how the person who deleted everything, it was like the classic entering a certain line that says, "Oh, I'll just delete everything from this folder," and then he puts a hyphen in there that shouldn't have been there. Said, "Oh no, do this recursively to every single volume that's attached." Like, oh dear.
So Galen Sussman saved the movie in 1998 because she had it at home.
It's not the person who hit delete that was the problem. It was whoever built an architecture
that allowed that.
That allowed one person to do it without turning two keys. You know, like it's
in addition, and in addition, like backups doesn't mean you back it up and then you put the cartridge someplace. Like you periodically test your backup to make sure that your backups are good.
So there's a big screw up.
Everybody
sad to say, now this was 1998. She was still at Pixar, Disney in their layoffs. I hope they laid off the guy who deleted the files anyway. But unfortunately, Galen Sussman is one of the people that has been laid off. So.
He's still at the company. He's still like buried underneath the concrete piling from the new campus where he's been for the past 13 years. Don't worry, he'll be at Pixar for a very, very long time. He'll outlast everybody.
Yeah, you know, you'd think you'd have a job for life if you saved Toy Story 2, but okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It turns out it's only 25 years.
That's all you get.
That's all you get. So the Mac Pro is here. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We can all stop thinking about it. The two Macs that were not updated, the Mac Mini, well, that just got updated, so I understand that. And I think there are probably a few people saying, where's my iMac?
We think that's continuing.
Is it over?
Yeah. I don't think it's a priority in any way, shape, or form.
You got the studio. Yeah. Well, Lisa, for instance, still uses an iMac in her office. It's getting flaky and old, and she wants a new one. I said, honey, you're not going to like the new one. It's not 27 inches. It's 21 inches.
Well, and that's the whole thing. I think they have like, people still want that, you know, and as long as it sells enough to make it worth it, I think they'll keep on releasing it. But I think that they definitely, the Mac Mini is in a different place now where it's much more modular. You can decide, you know, what you want. It's a lot less expensive. You know, the thing that really wears out is the screen and the screen size. And now you can buy a bigger screen for it. And I don't really think that, I say that I just bought an iMac for my parents-in-law because they had one before and it's all in one place and you can plug it all in and it just works. And so I definitely see the value of keeping something like that around. But I think that for almost everybody, I think the Mac Mini makes more sense.
Can we just say that Apple's not going to make another one, or is they still somewhere back in the labs have a 32-inch?
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't do updates. I don't think getting a larger one, I very much doubt. I think it's 21 inches. It's going to be, you know, it's not going to get much. It maybe gets up to 24 at some point for whatever reason, but it's never going to be another big one.
Yeah.
It is going to be it's going to be an entry level computer. They're not going to make a pro version of it. They've got too many other pro things that are out there. So I think that it's going to be a basic computer for kids that are going to school or folks that are retired and just want something that they can turn on.
It's going to be the computer you buy in 12 packs, either because you have a small company or a school classroom. No, I'm serious. Like that's
blister packs.
Otherwise, Apple. Anybody who comes into an Apple store looking for an iMac, there is a training video that says try to get them to buy a MacBook Air for God's sakes.
You're a studio with a nice display. That's what I'm working on, Lisa. We'll get you a nice display. If we can get one that matches the other display you're using, we get a studio. You won't know it's not an iMac, but you'll be happier because it's going to be modular. And it's going to be faster,
but it won't be yellow.
The
yellow one.
In Rwanda, we had some voltage issues and everything else going up and down. And over time, the iMacs, we got 40 iMacs. Back in the day, and repairing them was super expensive.
We should explain. He was teaching, so these were classes.
It was school, school in Rwanda, and the problem that we've had is that it's replacing them after the power supply or whatever. It's trying to fix an iMac.
You can't. No.
Non-trivial. And so for the same cost, we could have just, if we had monitors instead, we could have just got another Mac Mini.
Actually, I think we're getting her a Mini, right, John? I think we're just going to get her a nice Mini.
They're really nice.
Yeah, they're fine. That's all she needs.
Yeah. She can have any big curve around monitor or anything else.
She has a 49-inch curve around monitor and then the iMac. So I think we may get a matching, and now she's going to be in heaven.
Oh man, two 49-inch Curve around.
Get
There you
two
go. That's what I'm talking
vertical
about.
side by
Now
side.
that's your vision.
Or if you had 4 of them, you could have
Skate ramp.
this, you could go
Can
2
you
up,
imagine?
over. Yes, we're trying to put. That's what. I just
I
want to see a picture of it. I don't need it, but I just want to see a picture.
I'll tell you what I'm saving my money for. I'm not going to buy the Vision helmet. I'm going to buy the 49-inch QD OLED curved monitor that somebody's selling. I can't remember if it's LG but that's the monitor, right? It's a gaming monitor, I guess.
Yeah. It's pretty.
Oh, that's what I'm saving my money for. MSI, I guess it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, Samsung too.
Wait, so there are more?
Yeah, I have a QD OLED TV, which is incredible. It's the brightest
really-
OLEDs
oh,
out
man.
there. They're really gorgeous.
Kind of stunning.
So Samsung is going to make a QD OLED. It's the Odyssey OLED G9.
Available for $12,000.
You feel like you're getting a suntan?
I can't afford a G6, but I'm getting a G9.
Right. Exactly.
It's not available yet, but it's if it comes down to that or the Vision Pro, that's going to be.
Do you feel the heat from the screen?
No, QD OLEDs are not. They're not hot. They're nice.
We were at Cinegiro, this big filming thing over the weekend.
They're not like
And,
plasmas.
they had like a wall of these these lights, and they said we asked them. They said they get really bright, and can you turn the whole wall on? And when they turned it on,
Ooh.
it's like literally changed the temperature. Like we were standing like, whoa! It wasn't just that it was bright. It's a lot of heat.
Hey there, Scott Wilkinson here. In case you hadn't heard, Home Theater Geeks is back. Each week, I bring you the latest audio-video news, tips and tricks to get the most out of your AV system, product reviews, and more. You can enjoy Home Theater Geeks only if you're a member of Club TWiT, which costs $7 a month, or you can subscribe to Home Theater Geeks by itself for only $2.99 a month. I hope you'll join me for a weekly dose of home theater geekitude.